Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Yo, what up, brothers? It's the director. Chargers fans, well, the trade deadline has come and gone, and the Chargers decided to do diddly squat. Well, that's kind of the narrative if you're a Chargers fan for the past several seasons. This does not mean the Chargers can't go out there and still make moves. There are players like Deshaun Jackson, Odell Beckham Jr. still available. However, I think it's very unlikely that the Chargers target these players. Honestly, I've seen a lot of Chargers fans asking about Odell Beckham Jr., and I'll answer that really quick for you guys. I don't think the Chargers need Odell Beckham Jr. as far as like a featured receiver. I think the team that goes after him needs a featured receiver. Maybe like, I don't know, the Eagles or the Patriots. The Chargers, on the other hand, maybe need more help in the speed department. Think of a Deshaun Jackson more like an upgraded Tyron Johnson. Even though Deshaun Jackson's already 34 years old, Chargers could certainly use him in this season to help unleash the deep ball a little bit, to help Justin Herbert reach his potential as one of the better strong-arm quarterbacks in the league. Now, more about this game in this video. The Chargers versus the Eagles in Week 9. The season is flying by. The Chargers at 4-3 really need this as a make-right game. The Chargers have to right this ship. I feel like the Chargers have a lot of potential. 4-3 is certainly not a bad schedule or a bad record to start the season off with, but they need to get things moving in the right direction very quickly. If the Chargers lose to the Eagles in this one, I think it's going to make the fan base panic, myself included. This is one that the Chargers cannot lose. This is definitely one of those games that can form and shape a better season, a better future for the Chargers. The Chargers have to get this one right. The offense needs to right the ship in this game as well. Joe Lombardi in the play calling, Justin Herbert in the execution, etc., etc. Question for you guys in the comments: how do you guys think the Chargers can contain the slippery Jalen Hurts in this one? That's also going to be a very important aspect of this video. Now, before we do get started, guys, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this one. Lights, camera, action. The Chargers at Eagles, Week 9 game preview. And as we always do, we're going to start things off with our injury report. Who is suiting up on Sunday and who is sitting this one out? Okay, so the Chargers, Michael Davis, cornerback with a hamstring injury, has not practiced this week. Hamstring injuries are really tricky, dudes. It can take a while for these things to heal. You guys, if you play fantasy football and you drafted Christian McCaffrey like myself, you know that hamstring injuries are very unpredictable and can take a while to get a player back on the field. With the case of Michael Davis, I'm not too optimistic in his chances of suiting up on Sunday, and that presents a very big hole for the Chargers secondary, one that we'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. Austin Eckler with that hip injury we saw a couple weeks ago, he looks to be fine. Alohi Gilman has not been practicing, though. That could be a concern. Alohi Gilman really has been stepping up this season, and absence from him limits what Derwin James can do. I think Derwin James would be forced to play more out deep. Maybe see a little bit more of Mark Webb out there, too. Mark Webb being, you know, an okay rookie at this point, it definitely would be something to watch and worry about a little bit in the Chargers secondary. Next up, Justin Herbert with the right hand. We all had a proper freak out about this a couple of days ago, but he got a full practice in on Thursday. We haven't gotten the Friday injury report, just so you guys know yet. Justin Jackson hasn't been practicing. I think we'll see a little bit more of Larry Roundtree in this game, maybe a little bit of Joshua Kelly as well. Asante Samuel Jr. in the concussion protocol. This is more of a flip of a coin. Concussion protocol is kind of tricky as well. It can take a minute for a player to clear concussion protocol, but at the same time, it's not unheard of for them to come back the very next week. So I still don't know, nor do I think that Asante Samuel suits up in this game, which, again, same narrative as Michael Davis, could present some serious issues for the Chargers secondary. Drew Tranquil's been getting full practices in, which is good. We're definitely going to need him on Sunday. Now, moving on to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, they're pretty loaded as far as their injury report is concerned. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside's probably not going to be playing. Full practice practices or limited practices for pretty much everybody else. So Fletcher Cox, knee rest. It's more of a veteran sitting out the practice sort of situation. Everybody else, I'm not quite sure. I'm going to guess that most, if not all, these guys do suit up on Sunday. Outside of, what is his name? Brandon Graham. I think Brandon Graham is actually not going to be playing this game, which is good news for the Chargers offensive line, which has been struggling on the right side with Storm Norton. More on that in just a second. Next up, let's get into the keys to victory for the Chargers this Sunday. This is going to be a pretty big one, guys. The Chargers traveling to Philadelphia, East Coast game. Of course, we know those guys that don't get their nap in the day before might be a little bit groggy. Hopefully, these guys aren't too jet lagged in this one. The first thing we got to go over here is drops, and more drops. Now, the Chargers have certainly been struggling this season, especially the receivers, as far as drops in pretty much every given game. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Jalen Guyton, even the tight ends and Jared Cook and Donald Parham have been suffering from drops. I don't know if Donald Parham as much. He hasn't gotten too many targets, but still, I'm challenging our receivers to limit the drops in this one. This is certainly a problem with the Chargers that is going to continue to cause catastrophes for the Chargers offense. We've seen a lot of drop passes in very critical situations. I think Keenan Allen dropping a couple of third downs, including Mike Williams, and then deep balls that definitely could have gone for touchdowns also dropped. This is something the Chargers need to clean up. Again, something that we talked about last video versus the Patriots. It seems that the ball velocity from Justin Herbert might be the culprit in what's making these balls so difficult to hold on to. That's something I still think is on the receivers. People ask me this, and they've been asking me this a lot this week. Do you think Justin Herbert needs to ease up a little bit, add a little bit more touch for his receivers? My answer is he could, and maybe he could adjust and try and help them out in that way. But I think this is more on the receivers themselves. Even though they're difficult catches to come down with, I think this is something that wide receivers should definitely try and force themselves to adjust to, because definitely ball velocity can be a huge help when it comes to moving the ball in tight windows. This is something that receivers need to work on and coming down with. So drops, and more drops. Hopefully the Chargers are able to figure this out. They've been, tuning up and cranking up that machine that shoots the footballs out of you to the max. Turn it up to 11 and rip the knob off and try and hold on to those deep passes from Justin Herbert, those lightning fast passes from Justin Herbert. Next up, let's talk a little bit about the deep ball. Unleash the deep ball. Now, if you guys remember in 2020, it was a deep ball haven for the Chargers. Justin Herbert hitting so many nice passes deep, behind the secondary for go-ahead touchdowns or huge gains. We haven't seen a lot of that this week, or this season, I should say, and that might be a product of the Joe Lombardi offense, which a lot of people made fun of Michael Thomas for a while being the slant king. Lots of passes underneath, hoping for some yak and rack yards from their offensive weapons. I think this is something by design. The Chargers need to try and get open a little bit more. I've heard and I've seen tape that the Chargers have been attempting this. Maybe Justin Herbert not quite able to get the ball in the right area, or maybe the Chargers just electing to take the underneath pass, which is not always a bad thing, but at the same time, you've got to get secondaries to back off. And with a secondary like the Philadelphia Eagles, which is very athletic, you need to force them to back off a little bit to open up the underneath game. And that's something that I'm going to continue pounding the table for with the Chargers. Get defenses to back off. It's going to make your life a lot easier on offense. Jalen Guyton, Mike Williams, they can shift the focus of this game from coverage underneath to coverage over top, and that is really going to help Justin Herbert and even this running game develop a little bit more if there's less people close to the line of scrimmage. So I'm going to continue to advocate for that. This is why I continue to advocate for Deshaun Jackson coming to the Los Angeles Chargers. Whether it not be because Tyron Johnson was cut from this team that the Chargers have been struggling in the deep ball, I don't know. I don't think that really is the case, but at the same time, it certainly couldn't hurt. I think the Chargers picking up at Deshaun Jackson for a very minimal contract at this point. He's cleared waivers. He's good to go. He can go wherever he wants. Why not stay in Los Angeles with a cannon arm quarterback in Justin Herbert and try and get some nice touchdowns at the tail end of his career? I think it could help this season. I'm going to continue advocating for Deshaun Jackson to the Chargers. And again, it's not a move that's going to completely, transform the Chargers offense, but it's going to help in an area where they desperately do need some improvement. So Deshaun Jackson to the Chargers. I hope it works out. If not, try and get Jalen Guyton a little bit more involved over top. I'm certain that Mike Williams is going to see his share of targets deep as well. Next up, this is a big one, guys. We talked about this in the injury report a little bit. Who is playing corner? Now, with Asante Samuel Jr. and Mike Davis likely out this game, the Chargers are in a bad way. We're talking guys like Trevon Campbell and Chris Harris Jr. being our top corners on the team. That is not good. Although Trevon Campbell's looks pretty good this season, Chris Harris Jr. has not looked like his former self, getting burned constantly game after game, especially versus receivers that can outrun him. It's certainly been a struggle for him this season, and likely maybe his last season with the Los Angeles Chargers. Still, we're going to be leaning on him pretty heavily this game, as he's one of our only healthy corners still on this roster. We might see a little bit more of Derwin James on the outside, but it's going to be tricky, as the Philadelphia Eagles do feature a really nice tight end in Dallas Goedert. I have to imagine the Chargers are going to try and get Dallas Goedert covered by Derwin James a fair portion of the game. Still, I think a guy like Kazir White can handle it as well. Kazir White's been playing out of his mind, but you want to keep Derwin James available to be flexible in this defense. If he gets forced into a position like the outside, out deep with Alohi Gilman out, or maybe even in coverage with Dallas Goedert, it kind of limits what you can do as a defensive coordinator, and we know what Brandon Staley's capable of with Derwin James. We're going to hope to keep him free. So who's playing corner? I don't know. This is certainly going to be a position of interest for the Chargers this offseason. 2022 is going to be a big year for the Chargers. Starting at 4-3 this season is certainly good, and I do think the Chargers have a really good shot at making the postseason. But next season, with Justin Herbert's contract coming up, the Chargers in a Super Bowl window, they're likely to sign a lot of veteran talent out there to help fill these holes. Cornerback is certainly one of them, and I'm hoping the Chargers do pull the trigger. It really is the year 2022 where the Chargers have to go all in and try and make a Super Bowl in that season. Next up on the itinerary, the return of Kenneth Murray. Sort of. Kenneth Murray has been designated to return from IR. It's not certain that he's going to be playing this game, but I do like his chances. The only issue is that Drew Tranquill and Kazir White have been playing out of their minds. They've been playing phenomenally in the absence of a Kenneth Murray. So where do we fit Kenneth Murray into the defense from here on out? Well, a lot of speculation. The Chargers, in a recent interview with Brandon Staley stated that there is a chance that Kenneth Murray plays a little bit of edge. I think that he was asked the question. He said it's definitely something that they're trying to evolve in his position. I would say give him some reps. Give him some reps at edge. See how he does. His speed coming off the edge might be an X factor, especially versus a quarterback like Jalen Hurts that has the wheels to extend plays and pick up yards on the ground. I think Kenneth Murray could be a pretty important and integral piece of this defense versus this particular team with Jalen Hurts. And honestly, if it works out at edge, because it's certainly no guarantee, he's been groomed to be a middle linebacker. If it does work out for him at edge, though, I think this could be a huge move for the Chargers that benefits them in the long run. We don't know, I think, is the biggest thing with this, whole idea of him at edge. We don't know if he would be good at that position. We don't know if it unlocks something in him. We don't know what his success rate would be playing the edge position, getting after the quarterback constantly. I would say give it a try. I think at this point in the season, it certainly couldn't hurt, especially with how much the Chargers have been struggling in the pass rushing department. Joey Bosa, I have to imagine, is super frustrated getting, double and triple teamed all the time. Maybe even playing behind Joey Bosa a little bit. Hashtag free Bosa in the comments. Joey Bosa has so much potential to be one of the best pass rushers in the league, and right now he's not living up to it because the Chargers just can't schematically get him free. Maybe playing, a guy like Drew Tranquill or even Kenneth Murray behind him, in an overload blitz or something to one side could certainly help the Chargers out and certainly help out Joey Bosa in particular. So again, I'm pounding the table to free Bosa. If this is something the Chargers can do to improve Joey Bosa's game and get him more one-on-one matchups, absolutely try it out. Absolutely. So in the comment section below, let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think the Chargers should try Kenneth Murray at edge, or do you think they should try and fit him in at linebacker, get him more reps at that position? Next up, containing the Hurts. The Chargers certainly have struggled versus mobile quarterbacks in recent history. Of course, with Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, these guys are racking up yards on the ground like crazy. again, maybe Kenneth Murray is our answer. Maybe Kenneth Murray is thrown out there solely to contain Jalen Hurts, because Kenneth Murray is very fast for a linebacker. Maybe we throw him out there as spy and try and keep Jalen Hurts contained. I wouldn't hate that. Of course, this is all contingent on Kenneth Murray returning, but still, it's something that the Chargers definitely need to address in this particular matchup, because I would say Jalen Hurts is an okay quarterback. Passing wise, he's definitely under the bar, I would suppose, but at the same time, running opens up a lot of opportunities for him to make something happen. Now, I saw a post on Twitter the other day about Jalen Hurts, and they do point out that he does not pass to the left side of the field ever. And it was kind of funny, this compilation. It's literally rolling out to the right side, trying to find a receiver, tossing it to the middle. He does not pass to the left side of the field. So what are the Chargers, or what should the Chargers do with that situation? Again, maybe overload the right side of the line to force him to the left and maybe make a pass in an area of the field that he's not comfortable with. This could help Joey Bosa out tremendously, maybe even unlock the potential of a Kenneth Murray as an edge rusher. But at the same time, Jalen Hurts has a weakness that I think Brandon Staley can figure out. It's going to be Brandon Staley, scheming his defense to the weaknesses of his opponent. And I do think the weakness of this particular opponent is the left side of the field, which is very unique. You don't see that too often. Next up, the Boston Scott Paper Company. If you get that reference, we can be friends. All right, Boston Scott. I feel like he's been playing pretty good as their primary back with Miles Sanders sidelined. He's not been too bad. Of course, he had a pretty good, decent week last week. Sky had him in fantasy football, so I can definitely tell you he was pretty good. And this is something that the Chargers need to look at. Of course, Chargers fans at this point of the season know we struggle versus the run mightily. I will point out that the Chargers looked slightly improved versus the Patriots, and I do have to chalk that up to the return of Justin Jones a little bit. Justin Jones did look pretty good in his return from injury. At the same time, the Chargers' point of emphasis definitely need to figure out how to slow down the run a little bit. It's going to be tricky versus a team like the New England or like the Philadelphia Eagles because of the athleticism they have out there on the field with Jalen Hurts and even a Devonta Smith, who's definitely a pretty fast wide receiver, their featured wide receiver. The Chargers are known for limiting big plays, right? You see a lot of too high safeties looks, and the Chargers might not find a lot of wiggle room to put more resources into stopping the run, and that might give Boston Scott, a get out of jail free card when it comes to putting up good numbers on Sunday. So I'm a little worried about Boston Scott tearing up the Chargers on the ground, because I do see the Chargers as being forced into a position to try and limit these deep ball opportunities to their speedy wide receivers and a quarterback that can get guys open with his mobility. So I don't know. This was definitely one the Chargers need to watch out for, and fans need to keep an eye on during this game. Next up, plant more palm trees. Josh Palm Trees, as we've labeled him in our live streams, had an absolutely fantastic game last week. He's looked incredible. His touchdown last week is a statement for more snaps. You guys will see in this photo, dude, double coverage versus the New England Patriots. He just comes down with it. And again, the positioning of that ball, pretty good by Justin Herbert, but not completely favoring Josh Palmer. And Palmer just able to contort his body in a way where he comes down with that ball in front of two defenders. That is a very, very tough play to make, and Josh Palmer made it happen. Again, I think this is definitely a case to be made to give him more snaps on this offense. He's definitely something that got Chargers fans excited in this game, and I want to see more of that in this one. He's also talked a little bit about his chemistry with Justin Herbert this week in his presser. I just think all the signs point to get Josh Palmer more involved. We've been waiting. He's been developing. He's been building chemistry. I think it's time we unleash Josh Palmer on this offense and give him more opportunities to make big plays. The reason that we drafted him, he was slapping around some of the top corners in the nation in college ball. I think the Chargers should try and test him in this one versus maybe lesser, cornerbacks. Outside of Darius Slay, I'm not too worried about this secondary from the Eagles, but at the same time, Josh Palmer, he was able to run with the best of them in his collegiate career. I want to see the Chargers test that out in this one. Next up, always use protection. Wink. The Chargers, right side of the line. I know fans have been very worried. I have been panicking a little bit with the thought of the Chargers continuing to roll out with this look of Storm Norton, Michael Schofield on the right side. I think Schofield's been all right. Of course, he's playing guard. Not as difficult a position as tackle. At the same time, though, man, the Chargers have been just so bad on that right side. And it's something that the New England Patriots exploited last week, and likely a big reason why the Chargers dropped that game. As long as the Chargers continue to roll out with this look, I think teams are going to mimic what the New England Patriots did and continue attacking the right side of that line. Now, the reason we're seeing Matt Filer on the screen right now is that I'm a huge advocate for the Chargers to put Matt Filer at right tackle, which he played plenty of snaps with the Pittsburgh Steelers as, and he did really good at the position, and then throw rookie Brendan Hymas in at left guard, who looked really good in the offseason. I do not know why the Chargers haven't tried this out yet. They haven't rolled out with it in a live game yet. This is something I think would really work for the Chargers, and a big reason why I thought the Chargers went after Matt Filer to begin with. Having a guy that can be, flexible to play a couple different positions at a high level is very valuable in the NFL, and I do not know why the Chargers are not trying it out at this point. That is what I would do. At least try it out. You have to figure out the right side of this line. Otherwise, teams will continue to exploit the Chargers' weak right side and overload blitzes, get to Justin Herbert, make him uncomfortable, and honestly force a lot of games like we saw last Sunday versus the New England Patriots. Please just try it. We cannot keep doing the same thing and expect something different. I like Storm Norton as a backup, but he's just been not good as a starter this season. The Chargers need to figure something out. Lastly, one of my favorite matchups in this game is going to be Slay versus Slayer. Darius Slay. He's been pretty good this season, limiting most receivers to less than 20 yards per game. I think Mike Evans is the only one to eclipse more than 20 yards, and I think it was only like 30-something yards. Kind of crazy the season that Darius Slay has been having this year. And this is really going to force a Keenan Allen to step up, especially in third down situations. Get free, get open. Luckily for the Chargers, Keenan Allen really does specialize in something that can help him versus a Darius Slay. Getting open, his route running, one of the best route runners in the league. I think that gives him a slight edge, but we still cannot underestimate the talent of a Darius Slay in his 2021 campaign. Now, I will point out that the last time the Chargers faced Darius Slay was playing for the Detroit Lions. Keenan posted 8 receptions for 98 yards, so we know Keenan is capable of taking on Darius Slay, but Slay is having a different kind of season. I think one of his best seasons in his career, so hopefully Keenan is up to the challenge. I'm going to boldly predict that Keenan is first wide receiver to score on Darius Slay. As far as I know, I think Keenan would be the first, and I do think he posts a touchdown in this game. So with that, guys, the infamous conclusion, the finale of this video. Director, what is your final score prediction for this one? I think it's going to be a tough-fought game, a tough-fought win if the Chargers are able to pull it off, especially versus Jalen Hurts and his mobility. A lot of this is going to fall on, I think, our coaches. Can Brandon Staley figure out how to slow down Jalen Hurts, and can Joe Lombardi get the most out of our star quarterback in Justin Herbert? A lot of that leans on that. So my final score prediction in this one is going to be Chargers 28, Eagles 17. I do think this is a make-right game for the Chargers. I would love to see the Chargers waltz into Philadelphia, stomp on the Eagles, and get the season back on track. But it's really not a gimme, guys. The Chargers, dropping the last 2 games in the row, have looked kind of shaken, a little shook. And I do think this is an opportunity for them to right the ship, but at the same time, the Eagles have looked really good in some games, really bad in some games. Kind of depends on which version we get, and if the Chargers, head coaches or coaching and personnel can figure out a lot of the issues they've been having in the past couple of weeks. In the comment section below, let me know what your guys' score prediction for this one is going to be. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been the Director. We'll see you next time. If you liked what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. As always, brothers, bolt up and stay frosty.